Hello students, welcome to the second module of session 24. So in this module, we will discuss organizational change. The main purpose of this module is to learn the basic concepts of organizational change and different forces for bringing organizational change and internal forces and external forces. Like that, you will find the different the sources which are actually forcing us to bring some change in the organizations. So all those things we will try to learn in this module. So as far as organizational change is concerned, it refers to the actions in which a company or a business alters a major components of its organizations. It is something bringing change in the system, right? Such as its culture, the underlying the technologies or infrastructure, and its uses to the operations or its internal processes. So you'll find all these changes that are happening in the organizations. So if you see that in the organizational system, you can see all the times some change is required, some kind of interventions that happens, and then the change is inevitable, change is necessary for the organization's survival. So in this context, you can see the scope for change, the internal incremental the change is one aspect, and then strategic the change is another one. The third one is transformational change. So these are the three aspects in the scope of change. As far as incremental the change is required, the change of relatively the small scope, and such as making small improvements. So that is incremental change. And then strategic change is a change of a larger scale, and such as organizational restructuring. Whereas the transformational change is the change in which the organization moves to a radical, the different and then sometimes unknown the future state. So you'll find it is completely the change that happens in the organizations. So if you just see the organizational change, so there are the two aspects here: the planned change and then unplanned change. So as far as planned change is concerned, it is resulting from a deliberate decisions to alter the organizations as and when it is required. So whereas unplanned change is the change that is imposed on the organizations and then is often unforeseen. So you'll find, so without our notice, without our knowledge, sometimes you'll find so the change that happens in the organization, that is called unplanned change. So managers must be prepared to handle so both, so the planned change and then unplanned change. So if you just look at the reasons for change and then what are the external forces for change, that is, one thing is the globalizations, second is workforce diversity, the third one is the change in technology. So you'll find, so these are the three the major things that the workforce diversity, and then the change in technology, and then globalization. So these are the major elements which are going to bring all kind of changes in the organizations. So if you just look at the globalization is as far as globalization is concerned. So as per the changes that are happening across the world, so we need to bring some kind of structural change as well as some mental change in the organizations. So the people with even the resources also. As far as workforce is concerned, you can see that majority of the people, you can see they are from different parts and different backgrounds, and then so workforce diversity is giving another the challenge in the organization that actually make us to bring some kind of changes in the organizations. So further, if you just look at the ethical behavior and changing technology, you can see that as far as ethical behavior is concerned, so other organizations and then customers and the environment and society, how actually the ethical behavior is really affecting the organizations. So then if you look at the change in technology, so as for the changes that are happening in the organizations, we need to bring changes in the organizations as well. So that is the one important aspect. So further, if you just look at the internal forces for change, so you can see that the declining effectiveness and the company, the crisis, and then change in the employee expectations, and change in the work the climate and then culture. So these are the internal the forces which actually force the organizations to bring some changes. These are the main internal and external the forces and the reasons for bringing the changes. So when change is necessary, the change is supposed to be towards the development. So when we are bringing the change in a planned way towards the development, that is going to become organizational development. So with this, let me stop here and then looking forward to meet you in the video 86.